This podcast may contain views and opinions which are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any local agency, organization, union, employee, or company, including the podcast.
All right, everybody. Welcome back, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys coming, giving your time and investing in yourself, like Sawa says.
Invest in yourself.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. My sleeves are up, and I don't know why, because I'm off the clock. So I'm going to go ahead and roll up my sleeves. Sawas, I think you should do the same.
Should I do the same? Okay.
Yeah, we're off the clock. We're not working anymore. Like I said, we appreciate you guys too. It's a whole Mr. Rogers type thing.
Well,
right?
It's a Mr. Rogers corny type thing.
But why,
I'm just going to roll them down
why
now.
are we wearing these sleeves?
I need to change my shoes and change my jacket, Mr. Rogers style.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Right. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. We thank you guys, every week. Thank you guys for 500 views on YouTube. We had our first couple videos hit 500 views. I know that might not seem like a lot to you guys, but to us, those are all Teamster members, and that's the goal of the show, right? To get people involved, to get people excited, to disseminate information. That is the goal of the show. So off the clock, sleeves rolled up. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for the week. We promised you guys guests, right? That was the whole thing for a long time. I think the last couple weeks we've had some stellar ones, and this week is not going to disappoint. We have Karla Schumann. Welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate you having the time to come, obviously. Well, not obviously, but just a little bit about Karla, and this is from me first, right? Karla is from Arizona. She's the ST in 104, so we appreciate you coming on.
Happy to be here, completely.
Awesome. Let's get started. We usually kind of come with introductions.
We do our get to know you segment.
What are you about? Where do you come from? All that good stuff.
I'm the ST out of Teamsters Local Unit 104. We have statewide jurisdiction. I'm a proud mom.
Nice.
I'm a wife. I'm a daughter. And I am busy as hell, basically.
Aren't we all, honestly? Yeah. And to Savas's point, why are we wearing the dress shirts? Because, it's rare, but we're busy constantly. Right now we're in Southwest negotiations, just hammering stuff out. And we'll get to that later in the show. But a little bit more about yourself. Where did you come out of? What do you do? All that stuff. We want to hear it all. Everyone wants to know who is Karla Schumann?
Who's Karla?
Right?
Yeah. It's really no secret. So I came up through the ranks at UPS.
So I got to stop you. I'm sorry. I apologize. But you came up through the ranks. I don't want you to skip through that because it's something that I'm sure everyone wants to know. So you started as a part-timer?
Yes.
All that stuff?
All right.
Preload, where'd you start?
Once upon a time. Far away
Karla,
desert.
we don't need it. We're not trying to aid you. We just want to know.
Can we get both you guys to not interrupt the guests?
We won't ask what year
talking about age. This was interrupting. What kind of show is this, guys?
You're perfect for the show right now.
Did you have a doubt?
Never.
Never.
All right, so I was born and raised in Arizona.
Awesome.
Second generation American, second generation Arizonan. My entire family, my mom, dad from Arizona, my brothers and sisters from Arizona, and those of us that are still here still reside in Arizona, which if you've ever been to Arizona, everybody there is from somewhere else. You could literally live there for like 10 years and never meet somebody that's born and raised there. So pretty proud of that. That's
awesome.
That's where I come from. That's where my lineage started. So I started at UPS circa 1987-ish when I was going to college.
I was 3.
Really?
Same.
Sorry,
I was 3.
No, that's...
Yes, we punched in on stone tablets way back in the day. Seriously, I had a college recruiter that was trying to get me to go play basketball at a certain college, and they're like, hey, what are you going to do this summer? I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to get a job. And they're like, we got a job for you, right? Yeah. So started working at UPS part-time. I was a local sorter, so I'm a hub kid, right?
There you go.
And did that for quite a few years, became a shop steward, did some air exception work, definitely like that. Okay. Found the gravy train in that aspect, ended up doing a air shuttle that I really enjoyed. And what I really enjoyed was it got me out to see different locations, to see different people. You know, I was a steward, became a steward. I had a hub manager that our steward ended up having to leave the company for not great reasons, but anyhow, he was a cool guy. But we needed a steward, and the business agent's like, you should become the steward. I'm like,
how many years before you became a steward?
Oh, I don't know.
Started in '87, so how many years before?
See, did they have automation yet?
Well, I'm sorry, Carla. My question is, what transpired for you to become a steward? Was it that you were messed with by management? Was it somebody that took you under their wing, I should say, and educated you and said, hey, this is what's going on? I've spoken to our last few guests, and what transpired for them was, hey, I got fucked with, and
this seems to be the
fucked with me,
big one.
and then it got me into being a steward.
And it gets people involved, and whether you become a steward or not, that's kind of like Saba said, is kind of like the theme, the ongoing theme, is that's what usually gets people involved.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
fucked with or whatever.
That's absolutely a common story. You know, people are never active until somebody screws with them, and then they're like on fire. But honestly, I kind of had a different deal, right? For me, it was different. Nobody really fucks with me, even then or now. I mean,
there you go.
It just didn't happen. I mean, and that's okay. But like most Teamsters, right? And we all have to think about this. Most people are just waiting to be asked. They're willing to help out. They want to get involved. They want to learn, grow, expand their horizons. They're just waiting to be asked. And in my case, it was, I kind of already had an inclination. I like to help people. I always have. It's always, that's always been a vein in me. You know, service, helping people. I don't know. Maybe it was because I was born, 6 foot, 200 pounds, but you have a penchant for wanting to help people when you're the big kid, right?
I like that.
Yeah. You were the person.
You were supposed to laugh, but nobody laughed. That was kind of unfortunate.
Well,
honestly, for me, I like to help. I have a position in just by my makeup that I can't stick that helping hand out. So I always root for the underdog, right? I've been an underdog. Part of that is just because of who I am, right? But always inclined to help. So when they said, hey, we need a steward because ours just got sent down to the clinic, I was like, okay.
Fit for duty. Sounds like a fit for duty.
So, well, it's a good Teamster. I don't talk about other people.
Yeah, right.
That's what we do. But anyhow, so the business agent came in. He's like, hey, you should really do this. I'm like, I don't really know what it entails. So I had been talking to some of my peers, and they're like, yeah, you got to do this. You got to do this. And the hub manager came to me and said, well, I hear they want you to be the steward. And I'm like, yeah, whatever that is. I guess. And they're like, he's like, yeah, you can't do that. You wouldn't be any good at it. I said,
wow.
Wow.
They were already intimidated by
That
you,
is
Carla. That's what it
insulting.
was.
Well, it kind of rubbed the fur backwards a little bit. And I was like, what do you mean I can't do it? I thought the union got to pick its own representatives, and management had absolutely nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm just saying. I said, okay. From
None
that
of your
point on,
fucking business.
well, yeah. And from that point on, I'm like, we'll see about that.
Right.
And
Nice.
from there on, it just kind of blossomed, right?
So did that incident with the manager, that kind of not spark you? Obviously, you had the desire to help
Catapulted
others,
her.
but did that kind of infuse you a little bit? Just kind of give you a little bit more.
Gave you the push.
Like most Teamsters, like most people that do what we do, go ahead and tell me I can't.
Yeah,
Go
right?
ahead and tell me I can't. Go ahead and dare me. I dare you. Go ahead. Right?
Yeah.
It's
They said I couldn't do it, so I did.
exactly. And I'll tell you a funny story because, well, I got
And we
lots
love
of them.
story time.
So when I started working at UPS, I called my dad and I said, hey, I'm going to get this great job and I'm going to work for UPS and I'm going to make $8 an hour, and $8 an hour back in the Stone Ages.
Wait,
Real quick. Carla, I
It's a lot of money.
started at
I have to go on
850,
a-
so I'm right behind
I
you.
have to go on a tangent. So you started in '87. I started in '02 at 825.
04.
Like,
04, and it was
That's
8.
crazy.
It was
That was a
850
pretty
when I
long
started.
gap
yeah,
before the rates went up, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a big misstep on UPS's part in my mind. But we'll touch on that later.
Yeah.
So anyhow, long story short, I started out doing that. I called my dad and I said, hey, I got this job and it has all this opportunity. I can start out part-time and it has this thing called a pension and all these, these things. He goes, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to start unloading trucks. And he's like, yeah, you need to stick with school and get your degree because you're going to be nothing but a stevedore there. I said, a stevedore? Now, I will date myself.
I'm sorry,
I
Karla.
had to go look it up in the dictionary what a stevedore was because we didn't have the Google, right? We didn't have the Google. The Google's a very cool thing.
We had the yellow pages then.
We did.
I remember the yellow
probably
pages.
could have dialed 411.
No, that costs money. We don't do that.
Yeah.
So I look it up, and it's basically, somebody that doesn't have too much brain power, and they just work with their back. And I was like, I'm going to be a lifer now, right? So it was always kind of rough because, my parents worked very hard to put, their parents worked really hard to put them through school and into college, and they became white-collar workers, and they were very successful, and they wanted their kids to go to college and be white-collar workers, and along comes me. I'm like, I'm going to be a stevedore, cool. And
stevedore it is.
yeah, so I did that for quite a while, and as a steward, so I became a steward. Inevitably became a steward. My peers asked me to do it, so I stepped up. I stepped into the role, started learning about the contract, started learning about the various elements of it, and it's cool. And, a lot of what you do, and it's still the same thing our stewards do today. They're dealing with relationship issues, strife between the bosses and the workers. Yep. Somebody's treating somebody like dog shit, somebody's intervening, right? And we're like, absolutely not. And I can remember, a manager in there at the back of a trailer yelling at this kid, and he's just tearing him up, and the guy was older than me, but I was like, I don't care. Hey, what are you doing? You can't be in there yelling at him. It's bullshit. We're not doing this. And, take him in the office. We're going to sit down in the office. Whatever you want to talk to him about, you're going to talk to him about. I'm going to be right here, and we're going to get this hashed out. And better yet, go get your boss because you're not talking to him like this. And then after a while, you figure out you got the juice, and you're like, hell yeah, right? And then your peers are like, we like that, And it starts like that. And then you get involved, and you get active, and you start coaching up your peers as to what their rights are, and it went from there. It absolutely went from there. But it's been a great journey. I obviously went from being a shop steward to inevitably ending up working for the local as an agent. So I started with the local in '99.
What led you from a steward going through, did you drive at UPS at all? Did you?
Well, yes and no. So I was a part-time employee. And when I left UPS's ranks, I was still a part-time employee on the books. I was one of those fullest part-time employees you'd ever meet. 60 hours a week, pulling down the top rate of pay, driving a big old A2 around from Phoenix Airport to Tucson and go deal with the folks over there, go over to Casa Grande, hit the Phoenix building, roll back to Tempe.
I used to love shuttles back in the day.
A lot of windshield time.
But you were still classified as a part-timer.
I was a part-timer on paper with full-time hours.
With full-time hours.
Wow.
And to all you part-timers out there, and not the last episode, but in Mark Davidson's, we talked about part-timers out there. Look, from a part-timer to where you're at now, right? If you get involved, you can get to where you want to be.
And it's not just about that. At the end of the day, we do what we do because we love it. And that's one of the things we talked about in multiple shows, right? We do what we do because it's a way of life, because one of the things we did talk about in the last episode was bullying. And I hated that, right? Like as growing up as a youngster, I hated watching people get bullied. I hated bullies. And I'm not as big as Vic from from the last episode, right? I'm not as big as him, but I grew up a bigger kid. Like I was always bigger, and some would almost like think like, oh, like I could be a bully, but at the same time, I just really didn't like that. I didn't like watching people get picked on. I wasn't about it. That wasn't my thing. And I think that all plays into it because it really is a way of life. It's not something that you come into because you want a position, or most of the time coming into, being a BA or whatever, you take a pay cut. I mean, for a lot of people.
Try to write the work state.
Right? So you definitely, you do it because you love it, because it's in your heart, because that's kind of the way you feel. So what was it that led you into it? Was it just that it was just
let me back up to the whole fullest part-timer top rate of pay thing.
Yeah.
let me first say, there were times that I tried to get incapacitated drivers to be awarded that job, to get them back into the fold. It wasn't right. And at the time, you're young, you're making bucks, you're like, cha-ching, this is cool.
Yeah.
It violates the contract. It's wrong. Shouldn't be happening, right? Should not be happening. But at the end of the day, the thing of it is you have to really recognize, one, you're diminishing your contract. Two, you're really not doing yourself any favors. Because guess what? For that long period of time that I did that, I was making part-time pension contributions. So these are not things that one thinks of. But as reps, we have to think of it for them, right? We have to say, hey, time out. This isn't right. Yeah. You got to put it in the right perspective. But to the bullying thing, I think that kind of goes to my makeup, though. I mean, I've always had the belief that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you see something wrong, you have an obligation to get in there and work to correct it.
Yeah.
Whether it's somebody getting bullied on the street or a problem that you have to work jointly with others, including your employer sometimes, to correct. Mm-hmm. But that inherent desire to do that is deep in me, and I think it is in most of us.
Yeah, I wouldn't say most of us, but some of us for sure. I mean, just kind of going through the ranks, and you see, I mean, the people that really have that, like you said, inside, it shows in a lot of ways. Whether you're looking out for other employees in your center, or even as a member, before I became a shop steward, all that stuff, I still, I paid attention, looked at the contract, and we've talked about it before, but during like our younger years, I don't think really the current administration at that time cared whether we were informed or not. But once I was taking things serious, I really kind of delved in, or I don't even know if that's a word, delved, but I kind of dove into that, just that, like paying attention to the contract, paying attention to, when they were going through negotiations in 2008, 2013, I was just kind of paying attention to that stuff. So, like I said, it's really ingrained in you. Mm-hmm. And I think you're kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say maybe you're born into it, but something that you learn and you really, it's in you. Let's just say that.
It definitely is. And you have to have that to survive in this work, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have that deep desire, you're going to be lost in this job. And frankly, you'll hate it. Because it is absolutely it's not a job.
Crazy.
It's a lifestyle. Yeah. It's literally 24/7 lifestyle. You live it. Your family lives it. Everybody lives it around you. There's no off switch to it. But it's I think it's there, and I think this is kind of an interesting thing. I was thinking about this while you were talking. When I talk to my peers and others in our organization, you find out that a lot of us come from a background where we were athletes, right? Because we love to grind it out. We love to chase that ball. We love to compete. We love the team. We love the camaraderie that comes with that. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, you get out of high school, and I mean, none of us are playing the NBA except for maybe Vic. I mean, he's tall enough he could,
right?
But hell, they didn't even have WNBA when I got out of high school. I am an old man. That's no longer your job. Like my son's in high school, and I always tell him, your job is sports and school.
Yeah.
Sometimes at my house it's in that order too, but that's your job every single solitary day. Yep. Do the best you can in your schoolwork, do the best you can in your homework, and you do your best you can.
And I'll take care of everything else.
That's right. Yeah. And well, except for doing your chores and the rest of that crap, you still
there
doesn't
is
do.
That.
But my point being is that's your job. That's what you do. So you get out of high school, going to college, going to community college, going to university, whatever, and you don't have that. UPS is typically a pretty good fit for that because it is like an athletic competition half the time.
Yeah.
And then you work with others and you develop that camaraderie and you develop that tightness with your peers. And it was even more prevalent way back in the way back, right?
Yes,
I think as a culture, as a whole, the culture has changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the kids that come on these days because they don't have that same thing with that tightness. And the cool part about it is I think we have a younger generation right now that is hungry for that. They want to be a part of something. They want to be involved in something. And by God, if they feel it's a righteous cause, they are down. And
I agree.
so I see a bit of a resurgence with that, where for a while it felt like there was a lull. And that excites me. That makes me super excited because I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
And I actually think it's interesting that you say that. When I was young, I was still in high school when I started. When I started, I missed the competition, the camaraderie that came with sports, right? I played football all through high school and some of college. But
Water boys were pretty present at that time.
Wow. All right, here we go. Back to Fuck Sawas. But anyways,
Water boys were pretty prevalent back then.
I really miss that. And then when I came into UPS, I got a sense of accomplishment. I would unload, the most trucks in my area, and I would, I just missed that competition and that camaraderie, and it came with UPS. And you're right. Throughout the years, I started in 2002. I was, like I said, I was still in high school, so I couldn't start any earlier. I probably would have, but just coming out of there and getting into UPS, I really felt accomplished. When I left the job, I was like, dude, I unloaded 7 trailers today. That was fucking sweet, and it just gave me that something that I was missing. And I think you're right. Through the generations, it kind of diminished, and we're coming now to a generation where they're looking for camaraderie and for friendship or whatever you want to call it, and I don't know so much the hard work aspect. And that's just coming from me. I don't know that they're there, but that being said, they're looking for something,
One of the things I think is the greatest challenge that we face, UPS and frankly in any of the other industries we represent with our younger generation right now, is they don't know what it looks like, right? They don't know what it looks like to have a full-blown career.
Yeah, I think
I'll use myself as an example. My parents, married till the day my dad passed, lived in the same house that my mom still lives in to this day, right? Same house that I was born into. Wow. My dad had the same job for 50 years, right? 40 years probably, 40 years.
That's saying something.
Right?
Sure.
That's awesome.
Longevity.
Yeah.
Stability.
And the kids today, they don't necessarily have that.
Yeah.
You have more families that have divorces and remarrying and steps and this and that and the other thing. And it's common, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it breaks that cycle a little bit, right? So, I grew up here, and then we moved there, and then we lived over there, and then we bought our first house here. And it's not that I grew up with the same kids that I went to grade school with, that I went to junior high with, that I went to high school with, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's rare in this world. So when you talk to them about, hey, this isn't just a job, this is a ready-made career if you're willing to work for it, right? I think they look at us and they're like, huh?
Yeah, what is that?
They don't recognize it.
And I don't think no knock on, the younger generation kind of coming up, but I don't think they really at this point put value in it. And I think it has to do with them not seeing what that is and them not experiencing that, because there is, divorces through the roof, and, it's just a lot of different things, right? They just don't see what that looks like, so they don't put value in it. But that's one of the challenges I think we come up against, being union members, is trying to explain to somebody, like you said, not only the career aspect, but like, what is a pension? What does that look like when you retire? Mm-hmm. Getting a paycheck till you die. You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like? I just think they just don't grasp it yet.
Right.
They're too young.
It's
a foreign concept. They're too young to understand that.
Yeah, I really do. But, as you see the people that stick around, they definitely come to an age where they're like, oh, shit, the light turns on. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, shit, dude, I got a pension when I retire from here. I got, full benefits, even as a part-timer, like, all these things that the union has given them, really, or negotiated for them, is just, it's just a lot.
I always love it when I'll go in and speak to new kids, right? new applicants, do membership drive, maybe new hire orientation. And I'll be like, look, I'm going to tell you. Don't tell anybody, but I was you a hot minute ago. Just 5 minutes ago, I was you. I was 18. I was sitting in this orientation. Some dude in a suit came in here, was talking about the union, and I didn't know my ass from a hot rock, and he was talking about all these benefits that the union negotiates and this and that and the other thing, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about your pension, and I'm on mom and dad's health care, right? So whatever. Exactly. And when do I get my next raise? How's that work again? That was like the thing, right? And you get through your 20s, and you go to school, and you finish college, and you do all these things, and then pretty soon it's like, how's that health care work again? Holy crap, I need that health care. How's that work, right? In between that a little bit, if you're from my neck of the woods, you're like, hey, do we have legal service, right? And so all of a sudden these things that you've been hearing about, now they're important to you, right? And
1,000%.
You go through these different chapters if you stick around long enough where you start really realizing just what, not just your benefits are in front of you today or tomorrow, but it's a lifetime of benefits, because it's not just from 18 and it's not just during my working career. These are my benefits through the course of my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's pretty damn amazing.
That's great.
And I also don't think that they grasp how fast time flies. For me, look, I started in 2002. This would be my 21st year at UPS. If obviously I took the BA job, but it would have been my 21st year. And I remember clearly what it was like when I started, and it was just that 20 years. Flew by. Quick. Right. So you just don't know how time flies or what's going to happen next, when those medical benefits are going to be necessary, like all that stuff. And it is a challenge for us, for us to convey that to younger members and whatnot. So that's crazy. So you go from a BA, how did you progress? What happened? What was that story like?
So I was BA starting in 99. Okay. So I came into the local as an agent in 99. And then I became a vice president. And then I went from being the vice president in 2017 to being the principal officer. Wow. And our former principal officer moved to California. He guys taking our people. Moved to California, worked for a couple different locals.
Well, I think you're getting them back
and,
now. I'm not sure if you're happy about it, but I think you're getting them back.
Well, I'll tell you, after you left, it only took me about maybe a year and a half to quit calling him on the monthly going, I hate you. I hate you. Why'd you leave? But no, truly, Andy was great PO, did great things for our union. Couldn't be happier for him. Wish him well in his retirement, no doubt. To go from a vice president to a secretary treasurer was a bit of a leap.
Bit of a jump, yeah.
It was a bit of a leap, but honestly, I had been so immersed in the local and what we were doing that it was a natural thing. Yeah. But man, I always liken this, when you go from being an agent to becoming a board member.
That's actually what's going to be my next question.
I had been a board, I'd been an agent for many years, like probably a dozen years before I ever even got on the board, right? I was happy just grinding out being an agent, but opportunity knocked. I was asked yet again. People ask, I just do these things.
I know.
And
I have a hard time saying no, too.
I liken it to this because sometimes even some of the agents just like, oh, yeah, the board does this and the board does that, and it's easy peasy. And I'm like, I always thought I knew and understood the function of the board and what went with that. And it's like growing up in a house with a door in your bedroom that you assume is the closet, right? And it looks like a closet. You think it's a coat closet, no big deal, right? And then when you step into that and you open that door, it's like a whole nother building. The intricacies and things that go into a local union administration is mind-boggling.
And I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like that almost comes with every position, right? So, as a regular member, you think, you might think that you know it all and you know what a steward does and you know what they go through. Sure. And then you become a steward and you're like, holy shit, my phone doesn't stop ringing, right? And then you're at that position for a while, and then you look at the BA and you're like, I know what he goes through. That's my phone rings off the hook too. And then you go and take a BA job and you're like, holy shit, My phone.
The
like, never
layers
stopped
just
ringing
keep
now.
expanding.
Plus,
It's
There's
very
always
true.
another door,
Yeah.
right? There's always
Exactly.
another
I
door
feel
with a
like
whole
it's,
nother
like,
building.
Literally everything. It's a great analogy, honestly.
I remember one of the meetings we had at the local. Eric brought us in, and he had all the BAs there, and he wanted all of us to share something that had happened in the last year. Everybody's sharing the story. It comes to me, and I'm sitting there, and I'm probably about 9 months into being a business agent. Carla and I said, he says, "What about you, Salas?" I said, "What I realized coming into doing this job is I didn't know a goddamn thing."
Hey, but
True
that's
story.
the truth. I respect that.
And I did say that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I came into this job, and I realized I didn't know a fucking thing.
You know, to Carla's analogy, it's like you think that's the closet door and you open it and it's a freaking warehouse.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then there's another closet door and you're like, oh, I'm going to open this one. And you're like, fuck, what the hell did I get myself into?
Yeah.
I'm in Pandora's box now.
I always try to really preface it with my agents, you know, particularly when I'm looking for somebody, and generally it's the person that's not looking for the job that I'm looking at, right?
Yeah.
And I always try to explain it, you know, it stops being a job. It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
And it's a
1,000%.
lifestyle for your entire family.
It really is.
You know, my kids grew up on picket lines. They understand. They know that every 5 years,
That's cool.
mom's going to be gone for 9 months.
Yeah. That's tough, right? I mean,
It is tough, but you have the drive for it. You
Plays
want to
into the
do it.
lifestyle.
And they,
It is a
I
lifestyle.
think my wife said this to me right before I left for this trip. And she's like, you know, so it begins again. And she goes, so I'm like,
here we go.
yeah, I'm like packing my suitcase and doing my typical routine. She goes, I think I'm just going to consider this a really long hunting season. I was like, kind of. I got to go, though. Here we go.
Yeah.
And with that, Carla, to kind of circle back, how many contracts have you gone through in your tenure?
Oh, my God. Well, I can tell you, let me think way back in the time machine here. I started in 99. So the next contract after that was
2002, I think,
Two.
when I came in, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't on. I don't believe I was on the national committee at that point yet. I think
Oh,
I
wait,
was,
it was 2003. 'cause
in
it
the
was
West and then
2003,
the
2008,
Southwest.
2013.
Yeah, so probably 2002. I started in the negotiations. Now here's a fun fact: Friday for you. It's not even Friday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. I really don't. When I started in the local, I did not just start off solely doing UPS. So I was blessed enough, and I'll say it because I truly believe it. I started off doing UPS and handling a portion of that, but I did the white paper and I did the National Master Car Haul.
Oh, wow.
And I can remember saying, what the hell do I know about hauling cars?
Yeah.
And Al Whittle was one of the guys that I worked with, and he goes, let me tell you something. It's all the same shit. They just call it different things. I said, Al, that can't be true. This is a steel yard, and this one does this, and this does that. I don't know anything about these because it's all the same shit. The employers have the same problems. It's all the same thing. And little by little, as I started getting familiar with barns and doing these various contracts and learning about them and working with the stewards and the members, you know what? It's all the same shit. This
You
is
got
what
the
they
same
call
fucking problems.
this is
shitty
a yard go.
management.
This guy doesn't come to work. You know, the boss is riding this guy like a pony.
Yeah.
And it really is. It to some degree it really is. But I was lucky that I got that opportunity because I got exposed to all kinds of things: negotiating contracts, writing contract language, arbitrations, preparing arbitrations, federal mediation, just a plethora of the things that typically wouldn't get if they just simply came into UPS. And I'm grateful for that because it really made me a little bit more well-rounded, I think, in that regard.
There you go.
Plus, I really came to appreciate our UPS contract.
Yeah.
I mean, if you'd asked, I could probably have been quoted about, oh my God, this is the worst contract ever. Who came up with this Article 40 crap, you know?
Don't get me started
may or
on
may
Article
not have
40.
been that person 100 years ago. But when you really see what else is out there and how other people have to work and guys, pulling steel on their back for half of what our people are making.
Yep.
Wow.
It's humbling. It's really humbling. And
Can we send all our members through that? So like it's
Right.
I've always said, particularly because I want, particularly our part-timers, and there, I have a soft spot for the part-timers. I was a hub
Absolutely.
kid, right? And I would love for them to know and understand the opportunity they have, because I don't think they do. And I always say, if you could just take a sabbatical for a year, particularly the ones that have the intense problems, I'm like,
Right.
you could just politely take a sabbatical for a year, get out there and go work in other crafts and other things, non-union jobs, particularly in Arizona, and you come back here and you see what this is, you're going to want this job back.
Yep.
And unfortunately, most people don't realize it until they've left. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, because you're not going to go anywhere and have 100 call-ins and 59 lates and 29 no-call, no-shows and have a union.
And still have a job.
And still have a job.
Let's go over titles. We've been doing this the last couple of weeks because we've had some bigger guests, and you're a bigger guest, right? We
What does that mean?
it just means that when we just have Savas, I'm like, fuck Savas. You know what I mean? So. All right, so like I said, we kind of wanted to circle back and talk about your titles. So you went, obviously titles don't include your past, but you went from steward, BA, vice president to the secretary treasurer of 104. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're one of the co-chairs for the Southwest. Any other titles?
Any other titles? Let's see. I sit on the TWR 177 Healthcare Fund.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I sit on the
know that
LTCM
I'm going to
Trust
call
Fund.
you, by the way.
So I sit on another trust fund within my own local.
Okay.
I am the vice president of Joint Council 3.
Oh, nice.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's about it.
Oh, just a little bit.
I gave
Just
you the
a
wife's
tiny
mother,
Just
the
a
rest
little
of it.
bit.
You
Yeah,
know.
just
a little
So
bit.
then I'm gonna say you burned Victor then, Moneros, on the last show.
Big
I'll say
Vic? Where's Big Vic?
Burned him?
that. Yeah, you burned him.
Well, it certainly was not my intention, Vic.
So let's talk about a little bit about where you came from. So Arizona, right? I don't even know that our membership knows what a right to work state. You know, like I said, this show kind of started as a 952 show, but has since and always been our goal and idea to make it a Teamster show. And not only just a Teamster show, but those that are interested in unions, that want to know what that is, what that's like. You know, one of the directions, and we really kind of praised Sean a little bit before, but one of the ideas is to bring the Teamster, the name back, right? Where it's a household
the brand.
name, where we're a household name again, and we're respected. And you say, hey, I'm a Teamster, and people know what that is. You know, we kind of shared a story before where we were in Florida at an event
at Sean's fundraiser.
Yes, and somebody asked us, you know, we were wearing our Teamster jackets, and somebody asked us, "Oh, the horses! What are you guys, equestrians?"
I've experienced that many a time as well.
So that being said, I kind of just wanted to go over, you know, where you're from. What is a right to work state? What is it like in Arizona? What is that?
I'll say this. So for those of you who don't know what a right to work state is, it's pretty simple. In states that have right to work laws, an employee of, say, I don't know, UPS has the right, or any other place that's organized for that matter, with the exception of airlines. That's Railway Labor Act. That's a whole different ballgame. Those that are under the National Labor Relations Act, and you have right to work laws in your state, have the right to basically be bottom feeders and have free lunches every day of their life.
Wow.
That's my analogy.
I love that analogy because
Well,
it's
that's
so true.
the clean one. But the
Things
reality is, just in general terms, is that means they have a right to work there. They have a right to derive the exact same benefits that everybody else does: the health insurance, the pension,
That's my biggest problem.
all of these benefits. They have the right to have grievances processed, right?
That's crazy to me.
I have the obligation to arbitrate if it is something that is going to weaken the contract or if it's a legit grievance, right? And never pay dues a day in their life.
So in essence,
That's wild.
they have a right.
It's disgusting.
They have a right to your labor, right? To our job, to all the benefits that come. And this is honestly, this is the one thing that does infuriate me about the right to work. I guess people that choose that is that they get all the benefits. That part I don't agree with. If you're in a state that's a right to work and you decide not to join the union, you shouldn't get those benefits, in my opinion.
Right.
You know, if you want to do that, then fucking do that. But I don't agree with them being
But
able
here's
to
the thing.
choose.
If, as organized labor, if you organize a unit and you negotiate a contract on behalf of those folks that work there, if you start allowing that to get parted out, then you're going to have diminishment of your pensions, diminishment of your health care, so on and so forth. If you don't like unions, that's fine. I get it. People say I'm liberal. Can you imagine? I don't think I am. I mean, hell, I've been told I was a closeted Republican. That would hurt. But in fairness, I don't care. You have the right to your own opinion.
Right.
If you don't believe in unions and you don't support that idea and you don't want to be a part of it, cool. Go work at FedEx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do not take up a slot in a seat for somebody that wants to be a part of that and supports that idea. Yeah. You'll never run into somebody that goes, oh, well, yeah, I don't want to be in the union, but I guess I shouldn't work here. Said nobody ever. They want to work there because of the benefits and
Right.
the terms and conditions. But here's the bigger thing with right to work. That's the obvious one. The problem with the right to work is it diminishes. It really should be, you always hear it's the right to work for less. It really is the right to screw yourself and everybody else program, because what it does is maybe in that particular barn, I'll keep saying UPS because it's the easy, obvious one. Maybe it weakens it. It makes it harder. We've got to get out there and represent them. There's less people, blah, 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 all that. But we set the industry standards. Yeah. They drive down the standards and the wages in my state. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people don't really realize they're shooting themselves in the foot in that regard, because if you're pro-capitalism and who's not, I mean, hello, American way of life, I'm down for that. But if people have money to spend and money to be able to obtain the things they need in life,
everybody suffers.
That's exactly right.
Really.
It's a bad scenario all the way around the board, and that's tough. And what else is tough is sometimes when you're in a right to work state, like you guys, you come out of Southern California. Yeah. Everybody in your joint council in your state represented. Yep. Members, right? Yep. So you don't know anything different. We don't know anything different in Arizona. I mean, I grew up in Arizona. Mm-hmm. You don't know anything different. But I'll tell you the cool part of it, if there is a silver lining in any of it, is that our members are members by choice. They choose to want to be a part of the union. That's cool. And that, in and of itself, is a game changer.
Because we do, in all honesty, we do have members that hate the union and that are, this and this. They're basically just, in my opinion, they're union busters within the company. Yeah. Right. Sure. They're amongst the ranks, and they're union busters, and they do nothing but talk shit on the union and do this, and that's here in Southern California, right? Because there is no choice. You come in and you're part of the union. You pay your dues and you reap all the benefits, right? Yep. In my opinion, it's like you look at companies like Amazon and those non-union places, FedEx, like you had referenced, and it's like, well, why don't you just go work over there? If you think the grass is greener, then you should go work over there possibly. That's not I know we're not allowed to say that, but I'm off the clock, so fuck you.
You're not allowed to?
Hey, Carla, so I want to ask you, how many members do you have in your local?
About roughly 9,300.
And then in your jurisdiction, as far as UPS goes, how many buildings do you have in that jurisdiction?
104 is different. We have statewide jurisdiction with the exception of, say, Yuma for UPS. Mm-hmm. And that goes way back in the time machine. It's a whole other thing. But statewide jurisdiction, so we've got probably 35 facilities throughout the state.
Just UPS alone?
Just UPS.
35 facilities?
Yeah, so
holy shit.
That's insane.
So when you have to disseminate information, or you got to go do a posting, or you got to visit your barns, I'm in a right to work state. I don't have a ginormous staff. Now, my staff is larger than it has been in quite a few years, but that's difficult. So you have to have a good relationship with your stewards. Yeah. You have to have a good communication network with that, and it's paramount. It is absolutely paramount, and that is like many things in the Teamsters world. One of the things that we historically have been kind of bad at is communication. Yeah. Okay, let's just say it. We've been piss poor at it.
So one of the reasons we started this.
Yeah, technology comes along, and you think it would be just stellar. And I can say that's something I truly appreciate about the new administration is communication is paramount. That outreach, that involvement, that engagement, and that sharing of the information, very impressive.
Yeah.
And it's a welcome change. And then somebody in my situation, where you have statewide jurisdiction all the way to the border of Utah, down to the border of Mexico. So, you got Page, Arizona, all the way down to Nogales, all the way over to Bullhead City, Lake Havasu, the River Cities, all the way out to Safford, which borders New Mexico. You've got a big stretch.
Yeah.
So when you have things like the app and in-time information, it's priceless.
I just want to let you know, Local 952 will be happy to take Havasu.
I've had a lot of offers on that particular place.
On just Havasu.
Yeah, just Havasu only.
Yeah.
So what do you do to disseminate that information? What do you do? Do you have remote BAs? Does everybody have a home base? How does that work?
We've tried many things over the years. It's like anything else. It's what works for the people, right?
Yeah.
Some guys email. Send it to me via email. Scan it, send it over, I got it. Other guys text message it. Hey, other guys, I still got a flip phone. That's not going to work. Okay, there goes the next air packet, right?
I got a Cricket.
And I got a bunch of agents with a lot of miles on their cars.
Yeah, sure.
To do a statewide tour takes a couple weeks. I mean, because to hit the shifts when they change, you can really only be two places X amount of miles apart in one day.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
35 buildings. That's
wild.
What's your biggest building?
Goodyear.
Goodyear. I was going to say
our
Goodyear.
newest, our latest, our greatest, and it's a monster.
like your air hub.
It's a 1 million square foot full
Wow.
facility.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge. Did they go automated with that building? Or?
Yeah, they're absolutely. There's parts of it that are completely automated, but
And
I've got agents asking me for an accommodation for a golf cart out there so they can tour around the building. I'm like, go get your steps in. It's
you
crazy.
got feet, right?
that has to be a huge feeder coming out of there, out of Goodyear.
We've had a lot of growth in feeders. A lot of growth with our 22.4s.
So what led to the whole feeders thing?
Feeders things?
Why I don't understand why some people call it feeder, some people call it feeders. I know that's a weird question, but it's something that I'm like, what?
Well, John, why do some people say
feeders?
tomato and some say tomato? I
just said that earlier to you, John, where we were earlier. I was like, tomato.
Yeah, I was just curious if anyone knew the origin. If you know, maybe leave it in the comments.
It's funny you say that because I've never really thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, in our area, we've always called it feeder. You're a feeder driver, and I know I've heard, and it kind of, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I heard it, it kind of irked me. I was like, feeders? What's feeders? But I obviously it's the same thing. I just was curious if anyone knew
Carla,
the
feel
origin.
free to get up
say
and slap
feeders?
John in the face.
You say feeders, or you said feeders.
It's because we have a lot of them. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, we have one feeder.
It is interesting. I mean, hostlers, shifters, right?
Yeah.
Yard goats, Wallies, Brownsides.
Yeah, right.
It's interesting because there's literally, for people who don't come out of UPS, there's literally an entire
Vernacular?
like you need a dictionary. I remember one of my attorneys saying, do you think you could just give me like a glossary of terms? Man, I got beat by $1.25. And they're like, what?
I just found out just recently what hostlers was in the contract.
Because it's in the contract.
Right. And I was like looking at it, and we had
Sheet riders.
we had a full-time mule shifting job come up, and the person that was bidding on it wanted to know what they were going to be paid, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm looking through the classifications, right? And I'm like, I don't see anything here. And then
where's mule shifter?
and where's mule shifter? And then somebody pointed out to me, oh, it's hostlers in there. And I was
Did you not hear my opening comments about it's all the same shit?
Right?
Goats, mule. Yeah. And honestly, it's just different industry terms. Or what neck of the woods you come from, right? Which part of the country you come
Very
from.
true. Very true.
The right to work thing, to get back to that for a minute, it's challenging, it's difficult, but there's opportunity, just like anything else. Kind of exciting. There's some resolutions that are coming up in Arizona right now, whether they can get it into committee or not was yet to be seen. I've got a governor that's a Democrat and probably a little bit more pro-labor than many others, and it will be a challenge. But we're making headway here, there, and everywhere.
So are you guys trying to repeal that right to work?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Every session that comes up. But
How long has Arizona been a right to work state?
since 1946.
Holy
and
shit,
no,
that long?
I was not there when it changed.
No, I didn't say that, Carla, but
Yeah. Funny thing, I actually looked it up this morning because like I said, it's been that way my entire life. And I was kind of taken aback at how long it's been that way.
I remember when they tried to do that here in California, and I believe it was Proposition 32, and that was the first time that the local had sent me out. I was a shop steward, and I went out there as a mule. Yeah, absolutely right, and knocked on doors, and I remember the people that were out there with clipboards, with their sign-up sheets saying, "Oh, this just gives you the ability to, sign up because you have a right to work and not pay union dues." And people didn't understand really what it meant. Yeah. They basically tricked people into signing onto that. And that was my first time ever really going through a whole. I came after the strike in 98, and I never was. Just until recently, I was on the strike line. I didn't know what propositions and how really all that worked politically, coming into that we have to, as a union, back up certain politicians that are labor friendly. Mm-hmm. I didn't know none of that. Going back to what I said, coming into this job, I didn't know shit. I really didn't. But I had that passion to fight for people because it really bothered me. And how I came in was I got fucked with by management, and then once I learned,
but he never got fired.
I never got fired, but I had the obligation once I learned. Once I had knowledge, it was my responsibility, and this is what I tell the membership. Once you know, it is your responsibility to go tell the other membership, your other brothers and sisters, this is what it is, and it's your obligation to protect them. And that's what You're
supposed to share that knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's a key piece. We get so busy and so inundated that it's like, yeah, I'll take care of that for you. Let me to handle that. I've got it. And we kind of get them a little disengaged by not having them be participatory in that, because we're trying to expedite it, and that is a misstep on our part. We have to really say, hey, you know what? Time out. Let me show you how to file this grievance. Let me show you where in the as agents, you guys know this, right? How many times you get a phone call that says, hey, is there something in the contract that says A, B, C, and D? And we're like, oh yeah, it's this, that, and the other thing. When I started, I had a business agent that would literally Jerry Anuso, he's a great guy, great agent. He'd literally tell you, do you have your contract book out? And I'd be, yeah, I think it's in the car. Go get it. Yeah. I'll wait.
Yeah.
And he'd make you.
He's like, I'll wait for you.
He'd make you go get your contract. He'd like turn to page,
That's awesome.
98 of the white pages.
What does that say?
And he'd have you read it, and he'd explain it. He's like, now dog-ear that and write a note in the back of the page, so you have to call me and ask me this again.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that's how it starts, right? That's how you. The thing's like a phone book, but you, as a rank and file member, you might need 10 of them over and over and over again. Yeah. But if nobody's showing you that, it's a disconnect.
And so now it's like, open up your app.
right? You got your phone?
Yeah, you got your phone. I know you got it right. Put me on speaker. Open up your UPS Teamsters app.
Now type in the search.
Yeah. And you know what, Carla? I'm going to do that.
Teaching a guy to fish thing?
Yeah.
Teach the guy to fish. Let's do that.
Exactly.
We get in so much weight to go through so many grievances and so many meetings and so many things that we don't do that, and we have to.
Yeah.
We have to. And like me, most people are just waiting to be asked.
And I agree. I think that the more people you engage on a personal basis, like one of the things that me and Sawas like to say is one member at a time, right? The more people you engage on a personal basis and they have, their own personal issue, and you address that and you kind of teach them how and why you can address it the certain way, what recourse we have per the contract, all that kind of stuff. they learn, and that it might be one member at a time, unfortunately. But at the same time, it's just keep chugging along, keep getting those members in.
Even one member at a time. There's nothing wrong with that because there's no greater value to this than the face-to-face communication.
Yeah,
I think that even as an ST, that's one of the things that was the hardest for me was that I was further removed from that day in, day out contact. I'm an administrator. I'm meeting with this. I'm on this trust fund. I got to go do that. And you get a little further away from that. And that face-to-face contact, there's no substitute for that. There isn't.
that's crazy. Coming from an ST and someone in your position, I mean, like you said, it's one of those doors that you opened and you're like, holy shit, this is something else, right? This is the warehouse and I'm fucking stuck in it. I don't know what I'm doing here. Moving forward, what do you see as the and I like to say the new direction? Where do you see the Teamsters going? Where do what is your idea for Arizona? Let's say that.
Just even in my own backyard, I think it's a couple things. As a right to work state, I'm not gonna say you're the redheaded stepchild, but you don't have the flex that look at your joint council like California has, right?
Yeah.
Your joint council, big, huge, one of the largest in the country, closed shop state. You guys eat it, live it, breathe it. You have camaraderie. You have people around you. We were talking earlier about joint council meetings and this and that, and you guys always have that network of people around you, even though they're different locals. What I have in my backyard is space. I have geographic, territory. Yeah. My joint council is made up of 8 states, right? That's a lot of geographical area, but we don't necessarily, like New Mexico's the same thing. They've got statewide jurisdiction like I have statewide jurisdiction. So you don't really have that, you all live in condominiums in the city. We live out on the ranches, and you don't have the neighbors like you do. So one of the things that I want to see more of is more outreach within our joint council, right, amongst ourselves, because we are a little bit unique in how we work and what our situation is. And in turn, we're not the redheaded stepchildren anymore. One of the things that this administration, John President O'Brien and General Secretary Treasurer Zuckerman have done is this right to work state internal organizing drive. I love it. When they came out with that, I was like, holy crap, where's this been my entire life, right? Yeah. You actually are going to focus on helping locals in right to work states build their membership. They're helping locals in right to work states with the outreach. They're helping them with the technology. They're helping them with the apps and the communication. Yeah. And these are all great keys, but actually having people come out and assist you in that. Imagine 35 facilities across the state. That's a lot to undertake, right? And having some extra hands in that is
logistically, I don't know.
It's huge. So for me, I see more of that engagement. It's kind of like getting on a superhighway now, right? Sky's the limit. And I think this contract is absolutely yet another huge thing to organize around, to engage your membership. And I think we've hit the ground running, and this is the year, and we're going to just continue to keep building, to keep growing, and to keep educating.
And this is part of the reason why we do this show, Carla. And we're very appreciative of you taking the time to come on the show to do this.
Well, and part of it for me, this is so far out of my bloody comfort zone. You have no idea.
You're a natural.
Yeah. I'm great in a room, but they got cameras, they got mics, and like all this bullshit around there. Like I don't like it. But part of it for me is if I want to engage my membership, if I want to get them actively involved, I have to get out there and get out of my comfort zone too, right? I can't ask them to do it and not be willing to do it myself. So. You've now had me for an hour of Q&A. I haven't asked you guys a question yet, but I got to tell you, I love what you guys do. When I first got introduced to this podcast, I was so super jazzed about it. Because let's face it, I'm nothing extraordinary. I'm just like anybody else. I'm a rank and file member, just like my members.
Amen to that, honestly.
And it's a cool thing. And it kind of tears down some of the barriers. I don't think a lot of people get to see me be this, well, maybe a panel. But,
well, one of the things we espouse on the show is always that that we're nobody without the membership.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, the membership is the union. We are just here, and like you said, I think that's kind of the last 3 episodes at least is really kind of showcasing is that we're normal people. You know, we're not Superman. We're not above you. We don't consider ourselves above you. We're normal people, and we want people to understand that. We want the membership to understand that, like, hey, you're ST, you're, you know, co-chair for the Southwest is a normal person. You know, we're here fighting for you. And yes, for us, this is a lifestyle and a big undertaking. And we're out here fighting for your, you know, rights and for your contract and whatnot. And that's just one of the things that we like to remind people of, is that we're just normal people.
And I think in a right to work state, or even not in a right to work state, because you guys have your own challenges as well. Mm-hmm. But for me, the one thing that if we could just get people to truly know and understand is the union isn't that building down on 27th Avenue in Phoenix. It's them.
Yeah.
It is absolutely them.
1000%.
In every industry, in every shop, it is them. And we're just here to help guide them, to help provide leadership to them. But it is them. They hold the strength and the power. And that's amazing.
And coming into the contract season, sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Fuck you. Just, you know, coming into the contract season is we do need members to understand that, because at the end of the day, you know, it's your duty, your right to fight for what you deserve. And how do you do that? At the end of the day, if you don't get the contract that you want, you withhold your labor. Yep. And that is what it is, you know.
And I would just want to say, you know, to all the membership out there, and we've talked about this, you know, on several shows, when we have membership that come up to us, because it's all, I can believe I can speak for all of us. They come up to us and go, what the fuck is the union doing for us? And I tell them, you are the union. So what are you doing for yourself? Are you picking up that contract or opening up that app? Are you reading? Are you communicating with your stewards?
Are you investing in yourself?
Are you investing in yourself?
Get involved.
Because you are the union.
Yeah.
I think we need shirts.
Shirts? Yeah.
Invest in yourself shirts.
Invest in yourself shirts. Those are coming.
Yeah.
We'll see. But so, I mean, we've been running for a little while here. Any closing statements, something you want to get to your membership? I hope that, you know, 104, this gets shared around 104, and you guys get to hear from your ST, get to see that she's a normal person, you know. But that being said, anything you want to espouse to the membership, anything you got going on?
You know what? I would simply say this. If you've taken the time to listen to this podcast, listen to another one. Find some more of them. Reach out, get engaged, get involved. I mean, our members are amazing. Absolutely. And coming from Right to Work, I truly believe in that, because that's how I came up. But get involved. Take some responsibility in your role as a union member. Participate. You know, I always tell my guys this. They're like, you need to, you know, some of my agents are like, they need to go to union meetings. I'm like, it's Saturday morning, and they're probably not. Okay, let's just be honest about this. I mean, if I told you it was optional, would you be here? I mean, come on. People are particularly our members work hard. They put in long hours. They're essential workers. They've been busting their hump for a couple years straight easily. Mm-hmm. And I get it, but particularly around contract time, go to your proposal meetings. And if you didn't go, you sure as hell better go to the reviews or any update meetings or anything else that comes along, because this is their contract. Yeah. And they have to be participatory in that. But I'm excited. I think the younger generation absolutely will bring something to the organization that is the spark and something different than we've seen before. So our senior guys, our older long-term members, I need them to kind of reach up and help bring some of these people and educate them. And you're seeing more of that. You know, they're receptive to that outreach. So I'm damn excited. I'm not even gonna lie about it. I'm excited. I'm excited about what this contract is going to bring. I'm excited about where our organization is going and rebuilding that brand. Hell yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Amen to that. So guys, like you heard here, get involved, invest in your fucking self, please. This is important. You know, UPSers and non-UPSers. This is our contract affects the whole market, right? I mean, the whole industry. People are looking at us. Corporate America's watching. Everybody's watching this contract. So if you're a Teamster, if you're a union member, get involved in your local union. We appreciate you for tuning in. Obviously, share. We keep saying that.
Subscribe.
Subscribe, right? On YouTube. We're on Spotify, Podbean, Steam.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet on Steam.
Coming to Steam.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you guys tuning in. I feel like we're not even done. We have so much more to talk about. Hopefully you'll come on again, Carla. We appreciate you for showing up. That being said, get involved. You are the union. We appreciate you. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Email us at ocst.000@gmail.com. You can put whatever you want in there, but hopefully it's something, maybe questions for the contract. Also, leave us a comment down in the bottom, and I don't know, put whatever you want in there.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want in there.
Later, guys.
See ya.